And welcome back, everyone. When stamp collectors talk about uh, stamp artists, it's usually in the context of engraved stamps and who the stamp engraver was. Czesław Słania, Martin Merck, Pierre Gagnon for France, Rudolf Toth for Austria. But you rarely hear any talk about the actual designer of the stamp, the artist of the design from which the engraving was taken, or the lithograph or the photogravure, however the stamp was produced. The exception being maybe the Callies, Paul Callie and his son Chris Callie, who are mainly known for their space-themed stamps, although they've each done, many stamps outside that area. But that'll be the subject of a future episode. Today I'm going to talk about another artist who's not only unknown among stamp artists, he seems to be pretty much underappreciated in the artist world as a whole, as there's no Wikipedia article on him, there's no Brittanica article about him. The only thing I found were, newspaper clippings from his hometown, New Canaan, Connecticut, or information from the blog created by his grandson, Andrew, between 2011 and 2013. This artist is Walter DuBois Richards, who lived from 1907 to 2006. He died just short of his 99th birthday. He had a very successful career and won many awards and prizes, and he was very highly regarded during his 70-year career. After graduating high school in 1925, he wanted to go to art school but didn't have the money for it, so he got an apprenticeship at working as a surveyor, and he was able to save up the money and then go to art school at the Cleveland Art Institute, where he graduated with honors, and that was in 1930. After graduation, he spent the summer in a city-sponsored art program teaching kids the art of soap carving. When the summer was up, he borrowed $300 from his father and took off for Chicago to find his future. He landed a coveted apprenticeship at the Sundblom Art Studios, and during his 8-month apprenticeship there, he took night classes at the Art Institute of Chicago and honed his life drawing skills. And when his apprenticeship was over, he went back to his hometown in Ohio, where he married his sweetheart, whom he had met at the Cleveland Art Institute, Glenora Case. Now, Glenora Case Richards is also an interesting story, as she also became a very successful artist. She was a miniaturist who painted miniature portraits and paintings, typically on watercolor on ivory. As you can see here, they're very small paintings. This one's just 2¼ inches high by just under 2 inches wide. And she is considered one of the finest miniaturist painters. And as it turns out, she has another thing in common with her husband, in that she was a postage stamp artist for the U.S. She got 2 stamps of her own in 1981. First one for this stamp commemorating Edna St. Vincent Millay, and a few months later, this one for Dr. Mary Walker, an army surgeon. And as you can see, they are both designed in the style of her miniature paintings. But back to Walter now. While he's known primarily as a magazine illustrator, he created art across a variety of styles and media. His first published work was in 1932, and it was a linocut. That is, it's like a woodcut, except that it's created on a block or a sheet of linoleum. That first work was called The Black Mantle, and I haven't been able to find a picture of it, but Here's another Linnecut that he did called the lobster float, and this is what it looks like. These Linnecuts are very blocky with large blocks um, of solid colors on them. Then he also created a lot of lithographs. This is another early work of his from 1936 called the B&O Yards. B&O was the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. He made a lot of lithographs on uh, commissions from corporations, such as this one for Cadillac. And he created a lot of limited edition numbered lithographs of scenes from New Canaan, which was his home from 1941 until the end of his life. This is one of his most popular lithographs from depicting God's Acre in New Canaan, Connecticut. Here's another lithograph of the church at Old Lyme. And he also did etchings, such as this one of a locomotive, a train, and the sailing ships. And then he also did regular paintings. This one is a watercolor and gouache depicting a county fair. During World War II, he created government posters that encouraged people to contribute to the war cause and to encouraging rationing and conservation, such as this one telling you that you need gas coupons in order to legally buy gasoline for your cars. Then this one was encouraging you to save rubber by making sure your tires are properly inflated so you don't, wear down your tires prematurely and waste rubber. Because of the quality of his work in doing these government posters, Walter was commissioned to create an advertisement for a new bomber that the United States Air Force or Army Air Force was bringing out. Now, the only problem is it wasn't introduced yet, and there were no pictures available for him for reference. So he just had to come up with it out of his head. And one of the features that he put on this aircraft in the ad was a tail gun. Now, up to this point, no American bomber had a tail gun, but there it was in his ad. And lo and behold, when the plane was finally introduced to the public, it had a tail gun on it. This led to a friendly visit from some federal agents wanting to know how he knew that this new aircraft had a tail gun on it, and they suspected that someone must have been leaking military secrets to him. In 1964, he created what's probably his most significant work. Of course, in November of 1964, President Kennedy was assassinated, and there is a very famous photograph of Vice President Lyndon Johnson being sworn in on Air Force One as the new president. Walter then got a commission from the Air Force Historical Museum to create a painting depicting that event of LBJ being sworn in. As you may or may not know, Lady Bird Johnson was her pet project was beautification of America, planting wildflowers along America's highways and such. And LBJ and Lady Bird were impressed enough by his art that they requested him to create the design for a set of stamps for the beautification of America, which is this set here, Scott number 1365 to 1369 that he produced in 1969. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Still got to go back a couple of decades to his most prolific work, probably uh, his magazine illustrations for advertisements. And there are lots of these. Uh, for instance, this one for Anheuser-Busch, this one for the Conoco Oil Company. And you'll notice on all these a great level of detail. There's, it's really nice artwork with a lot of details, a lot of shading. Here's one for the Association of American Railroads, depicting Daniel Boone. For the DuPont Chemical Company, who had created cellophane wrap. He created this ad for Havoline Motor Oil, depicting a fisherman and his fly that he uses. This one for the Seagram's VO, Canadian whiskey. And then this one for TWA, showing a Lockheed Constellation aircraft up in the sky there. He also did many magazine covers, including at least 15 magazine covers for the American Legion magazine, such as this one and this one showing a flag maker. He did many other magazines too, for covers for Life magazine, Look, Collier's, and even some men's magazines. This one, Men True Adventure, depicting a shrunken head. So, which brings us now to his stamp designs. His first design was in 1967, where he created this portrait of Frederick Douglass, which became this engraved stamp, Scott number 1290. Here's another original drawing of the Frank Lloyd Wright House, Falling Water, which became one of the stamps in this series of American architecture. He created 37 stamps in all, and his last one in 1987, which is actually a postal card, the printed postage stamp on the postal card from 1987. This was not only his last postage stamp, but his last published work as an artist, although he did continue to paint for his personal pleasure just up until the day he died, literally. And I hope you'll stick around to the end of this video, because I will show you, I will have a slideshow of all 37 designs that he created. In 2001, he got a really nice honor, him and his wife, when the U.S. Postal Service declared July 14th, 2001 as Glenora and Walter DuBois Richards Day in the town of New Canaan, Connecticut. And as you can see, whereas stamp collecting is considered the most popular hobby in the world, enjoyed by young and old alike, and whereas Glenora Richards and Walter DuBois Richards have greatly impacted the growth and development of the design of postage stamps through their ability to design and create images of cultural significance, now therefore I, Terry McCaffrey, do hereby designate July 14th, 2001 as Glenora and Walter DuBois Richards Day in the town of Canaan, Connecticut, and ask all residents to recognize this once-in-a-lifetime event. Now, in this video, I could only give you the most bare bones, biography of him. That's why I've left a link in the description below to the video I mentioned earlier, where there is a documentary film of him. And I think you'll find this very interesting. So I invite you to go take a look at that video. Now I'll just close out this program with a slideshow of all 37 of Walter DuBois Richards' stamp designs. So until next time, this is Ted the Talking Stamp Collector wishing you all happy stamping.